Hello everyone, my name is Maha, and today I will be presenting research on lead exposure and its learning impacts in school children. Lead exposure continues to be one of the most preventable environmental health problems, yet many school buildings still have contaminated drinking water. This presentation explains how lead enters school water, how it damages children's brains, and how this affects learning, behavior, and long-term academic success. Lead exposure is preventable, but it still happens in schools across the United States. Many buildings are old, and they have pipes or fixtures that contain lead. Children are especially vulnerable because their brains are still developing. Even small amounts of lead can interfere with memory, attention, and behavior. Families often don't know this is happening because water testing is not required in most schools, so this silent exposure can continue for years. Lead gets into school drinking water when pipes corrode. Older plumbing systems, especially those built before 1986, often contain lead pipes, solder, or fixtures. Water chemistry also plays a role. If the water is acidic, it erodes the pipes faster and releases more lead. Because many schools do not have corrosion control treatment, lead can enter the water that students drink every day from fountains and sinks. Lead is a neurotoxin. When children drink contaminated water, lead enters their bloodstream and travels to the brain. It mimics calcium, which interferes with how neurons communicate. This slows down learning and memory. Lead also affects myelination, the insulation around nerve cells that helps children think quickly and learn new information. Because of these biological changes, even low exposure can cause long-term brain damage. The health effects are serious. Lead exposure can reduce IQ, cause attention and memory problems, and lead to developmental delays. These impacts are permanent. They cannot be reversed with medication or therapy. Many students may struggle with reading, math, and focus in the classroom, but the underlying cause is the neurological damage from lead exposure. This is why prevention is so important. Lead does not only affect learning, it also affects behavior. Children exposed to lead are more likely to be irritable, impulsive, or emotionally reactive. They may have difficulty controlling their behavior or following classroom rules. Sometimes these symptoms are mistaken for ADHD or other behavioral disorders, but they may actually be caused by lead exposure. These challenges can create conflict at school and affect relationships with teachers and classmates. There is a strong connection between lead exposure and academic performance. One study found that children exposed to lead scored lower on test scores, especially in math. Lead affects problem solving, working memory, and concentration. When students fall behind at early grade levels, they may struggle to catch up as schoolwork becomes harder. Over time, this creates a snowball effect that can influence graduation rates and career opportunities. Real cases have drawn national attention. For example, in Flint, Michigan, thousands of children were exposed to lead in the water supply. Schools in Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia also found extremely high levels of lead in drinking fountains. Some samples were so contaminated that they would be considered hazardous waste. These cases show that the problem is widespread and not limited to a single region. One major problem is that testing is not required in most schools. Federal rules only apply if the school manages its own water system, which many do not. Some schools flush the water before testing, which temporarily lowers lead levels and gives misleading results. Schools in low-income communities often have older buildings and limited funding, so these students face higher risk. This makes lead exposure not just a health issue, but an equity issue. The most effective solution is prevention. Schools should test water regularly, using first draw samples, install certified filters on fountains, and replace outdated plumbing. Federal regulations need to be updated so all schools meet strict safety standards. The cost of repairs may be high, but the cost of inaction, including lifelong neurological harm, is far greater. To conclude, lead exposure in school drinking water causes permanent damage to children's brains, learning abilities, and behavior. These effects follow students throughout their education and into adulthood. Protecting children from lead is essential for their health and their future success. Ensuring safe water in schools is not just a matter of water quality, it is a matter of protecting the next generation. Thank you.